Today we're going to continue with talking about the MIGNEX project and specifically looking at a specific country case study and looking at some of the country case study briefs that have come out of that recently. So today we're really going to be focused on Guinea. But first, let me talk a little bit about the MIGNEX project. My name is Melissa Siegel. I'm a professor of migration studies, and this is a channel about all things migration. So the MIGNEX project stands for Aligning Migration Management and the Migration Development Nexus. It is originally a 5-year project, now a 6-year project because of COVID-19, running from 2018 to 2024. It's coordinated by the Peace Research Institute of Oslo in Norway, and it has a number of different partners, including Maastricht University, where I am working. MIGNEX is actually one of the largest EU-funded research projects focusing on migration, and specifically migration and development, and the funding comes from the European Union, specifically the Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program. So the main objective of the MIGNEX project is to contribute to more effective and coherent migration management through evidence-based understanding of the linkages between development and migration. So that's what we're looking for in general. Us as migration scholars, we want to make sure that there is evidence-based policy making and that we as researchers and academics can help to feed into that evidence base. We want to also try to make sure that the research that we do in this project can go into better evidence-based policy making. So within this large-scale project, we are looking at 25 different study areas across 10 different countries in the world. Here you can also see the countries that we're working in. We're working in Tunisia, Turkey, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Ghana, Guinea, and Cape Verde. And of course, today I'm going to be specifically talking about some of the work that we have done in Guinea. And the information that I'm going to give you today comes out of 2 main case study briefs. If you're interested, you can check out these case study briefs on the MIGNEX website, which of course I will link in the description below, and make sure that you also see it here on the screen. So why don't I give you a little bit of a background on this case study. So in Guinea, we have collected data in 2 specific locations in 2 cities. Now these cities are Dialakoro and Bofa. Now, information that I'm going to cover here and that is covered in the reports really talks about development indicators, migration indicators, and links between migration and development in each of these different areas. In the MIGNEX case study briefs and the data collection methods and tools that we used here are really a combination of quantitative and qualitative data collection. It's a combination of focus group discussions and observations and face-to-face surveys with 500 randomly selected participants in each study area. So now let's jump into the context in each of these locations. So in Dialakoro, we have some very specific characteristics. So it is a rural sub-prefecture situated along the Niger River, so really in the eastern region. We've seen rapid expansion in this area. So there's an estimated population of 70,000 people that extends from the kind of historic village of Dialakoro over several villages and around 1,000 small hamlets. So we've really seen a major expansion here. There's quite poor infrastructure, so only roughly half of the surveyed households that we spoke to have access to electricity, and they're poorly connected with other parts of the country. Now, when it comes to industries, the main industries are agriculture and mining. So around 61% of the young people that we surveyed were currently active in agriculture. So it's mostly collective farming that is common with fields owned by paternal extended families. And it is definitely a social obligation for young people to work on farms, even if they have other jobs. Now, when it comes to mining, at least previously, there was small-scale gold mining that was considered complementary to the agriculture in the area. But we see this mining as really a growing source of income, particularly for the younger residents here. At the same time, though, mining is not necessarily seen positively. There is quite a negative social view of mining because of an influx of migrant workers and also physical and ecological dangers and environmental issues associated with mining. Now, the other context that we have had a look at is Boffa. So Boffa is a little bit different. It is a town and sub-prefecture located on the Atlantic coast, and it's comparatively smaller, so with around 27,000 residents. And it's also better connected to the country. So as far as industry is concerned, historically, it was a popular artisan farming and fishing destination for migrant workers. And since 2010, we have seen that the development of the mining and fishing industry has changed social and environmental characteristics of the town. So industrial mining and fishing has now made fishing impossible due to the degradation of the estuary and the environment around the area. Now, only 22% of surveyed young adults make a living from farming, and that is mostly subsistence farming. Most young adults, so that's 82%, find it difficult to earn a living for their family currently. So some international immigrants are employees of mining firms and Chinese fishing firms. There are also few social ties with Chinese immigrants as they live separately to the local communities and import most of their goods. So you can see, quite different contexts in the two areas. So if we look at both of these areas now side by side, you can see that the self-rated ability to make a living is significantly lower in Boffa, despite higher perceived ability to get an education in Boffa compared to in Dialakaro. So in Boffa, we also see that they are marginally more connected to other regions, both through infrastructure and more connected via the internet. There also seem to be generally more opportunities to work within Dialakaro, although family pressure for young people to work in agriculture may indicate the young people aren't earning a living doing the work that they would actually prefer. So first we looked at some of the development indicators within the two regions or within the two research areas. Now let's look at some of the migration patterns and migration issues within each of the research areas. So we do see some similar patterns amongst the respondents, although migration aspirations appear to be amplified in Boffa. So first, if we look at Dialakaro, we see that temporary and circular migration to neighboring countries for mining really used to be common, but this has declined with the introduction of local machinery to mine gold. However, still 45% of surveyed young adults have family or friends living abroad. So, and these are predominantly in Mali or Ivory Coast and France. So around 24% in Mali, around 20% in Ivory Coast, and 16% in France. So further international migration, mainly to Europe, is generally seen as largely unfeasible, and virtually no one actually has a passport. So while nearly 2/3 of young adults, or around 62%, would migrate to a richer country if given the necessary papers, less than 1/3, or around 28%, have seriously considered migrating internationally in the past year. So, we can really look at what would people like to do compared to what are they able to do. If we take a more gendered lens here, men are more optimistic about their livelihoods in the expanding town, whereas women seem to be frustrated with their social standing and are more likely to aspire towards international migration. So we see actually quite some difference there along gendered lines. So in Boffa, we actually see that there's generally more capacity to be able to migrate than there was in Dialakaro. So 75% of the surveyed young adults have friends or family abroad, and mostly in wealthy destinations like the United States or France. With higher observed migration comes higher rates of people being caught migrating also irregularly. So 35% know someone who's been deported back to Guinea or who has died in transit. So actually 29% of people know someone who has died. Nevertheless, 53% have seriously considered international migration, which is almost twice the amount in Dialakaro. So here 53% as opposed to 28%. Again, if we look specifically at a gender dimension here in Boffa, we see that quote unquote, if given the necessary papers, most young men, or 86% of young men and 84% of young women surveyed, would migrate to a richer country. However, married women are expected to live with their husbands, except in instances where women become financially independent from their husbands because of trade or enterprise. So some migrate internally to fishing villages where they engage in high-risk work like prostitution. There are considerably lower rates of international migration among women compared to men, so 6% versus 11% in BOFA. Now, if we look at some of the indicators of migration and development together, we see that financial investments are rare. Neither area reported significant, if any, collective remittances or development investments from diaspora members. 20% of households in Lahore report receiving remittances, although none of them cite it as their primary income. Of course, at the same time, we do see pretty positive attitudes towards migration. So 39% and 59% think that Guineans abroad still contribute to Guinea. So there is this idea that the diaspora abroad are still contributing positively. Okay, it's seen more positively in BOFA than in Lahore, but still some pretty positive feelings towards migration. So what are some main overall takeaways here? So in Lahore, most people have some connection with migration, including their own direct experiences. Many of those who do migrate to another country kind of quote unquote follow the gold in small scale mining. So small scale mining is also increasingly an important factor for in-migration in Lahore. And migration to Europe is generally not seen as a model of success or upward social mobility, with most young adults preferring to stay in Lahore. Now, on the other hand, in BOFA, the environmental impacts of industrial mining have really threatened local livelihoods, and around 82% of young adults consider it difficult to earn a living and feed their family in BOFA. Migration aspirations are equally high for women and men, with women mostly migrating for marriage, though trading offers an opportunity for financial independence and mobility also. So BOFA hosts both African and Chinese migrants who work in mining and fishing, mostly living in segregated communities with little interaction with locals. So I hope that just gave you a bit of an idea of some first looks at our research areas in Guinea. Make sure to continue to check out the MIGNEX website. Again, I'll put the link in the description below. Keep also a look out in this space, but also on the MIGNEX website for more information coming out of the project. There are more case study briefs coming out all the time. And now we're having more and more research output also of this project on a regular basis. So please do keep a lookout for that. If you found this video useful, of course, please feel free to share it around. If you have your own information about migration or development situations in Guinea, or even specifically in these areas, please do comment down below. We'd love to hear about those. If you found this video useful, please do give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos that we upload every week on different migration issues. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.